Sage Wonder here, and welcome to Coffee Talk. So today we're talking about the Mandela effect. Don't. So, quick primer in case you don't know what the Mandela effect is. The Mandela effect is this idea that some of us remember things differently than apparently how they went down. Some of us remember television shows differently, movies that apparently don't exist, but we remember watching them. Some of us remember logos being one way and now they're the other, and when you check into it, the corporations say, no, this logo's been that way all along. For instance, the Ford logo. This is the one that still kind of bugs me. Apparently, always since the beginning of the Ford Corporation, there's always been, when you do the F and you have the little line that goes across, there's this little loop right there that just goes up in the air for no reason, and then the O starts down here for Ford. Now, me and many other people remember that being this kind of flamboyant flash, the slash for the F. Instead of any kind of little loop-de-loop on the end, it was just a straight slash with a kind of almost angled slash. Skinny on one and wider at the other. That is how I remember it. And I got to tell you, when I first discovered the Mandela effect, it shook me up. It made me wonder what the heck was going on. I felt like I was from a different universe. And really, the way the world is twisted off, I wonder if I am from a parallel universe, because this is not the America I remember. Where did all these people come from that hate America? How did we let all these communists get in our country? Who made them? When did this happen? I missed it. And so it really shook me up about a year ago. It'll mess with your mind. I mean, there's some people that really have lost their mind over the Mandela effect. But I remember that logo, that Ford logo, being completely different. So after looking at it, I went and looking at the Mandela effect videos on that Ford issue, I went back and dug out a sketchbook. Now, something you guys probably didn't know about me is that I almost went to art school and almost became a graphic artist instead of a musician. That I was kind of split when I was young. I loved art, I loved drawing, but I also was very, very good at music. And, but I kind of leaned towards graphic art because back then that would have been a way to make a living as an artist. But that's kind of changed and everything's gone computerized now. But I digress. So I dug out this sketchbook, and in this sketchbook are recreations of Warner Brother cartoon scenes that, I drew from memory. And, I drew a 67 Mustang Fastback GT, and I drew a lot of things. And I drew, because I was thinking about being a graphic artist, I would recreate logos. And in this book, I found where I had recreated a Ford logo. Now, we owned a Ford. And I remember going out and looking at the Ford logo so that I could recreate it, and as part of my kind of studying for being a graphic artist. I didn't end up going down that road in life, but I still had the sketchbook, and sure enough, I had that slash, not the little loop-de-loop curl. And I got to tell you, I'm a guy with an eye for detail. I wouldn't have missed that. I wouldn't have changed that. I would have looked at it, and I would have put a curly Q if there was a curly Q there. So that one blew my mind. Another one that messed with me was Shazam. Now, apparently I always thought there was a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad, where he played a genie. And a lot of people believe that this movie existed, although Sinbad swears up and down to this day that he did not make a movie where he played a genie. Now, a lot of people say we're getting this confused with the Shaquille O'Neal movie where he starred as a genie called Kazam, or something like that. But there was a rash of copycat movies going on during that period of time. Remember the one, I forget the names of them, but there was a plot where the parent and the child would switch bodies. Like the old person would be in the young person's body, and the young person would be in the old person's body. And I think there was 2 or 3 like that were just almost copycats of each other. And I think they came out after Big with Tom Hanks. They wanted to really capitalized on that. One had Dudley Moore in it. Later on, there was a female version of it. So I was used to these copycat movies. And I remember specifically there being the Sinbad movie first, and then the Shaquille O'Neal movie came out after it and copied it. And it was another one of those copycat movies. So, hang on, I need some coffee for this. Anyway, that's kind of the thing. There's another one. There's a series of books and television shows called the Bernstein. My kids called them Bernstein Bears. I remember. Bernstein Bears, Daddy? What's your Bernstein Bears? But apparently it's not Bernstein Bears, it's Berenstain Bears. Which, that's a pretty big difference. But here's the one that messes with me the most. If anybody watches this channel, you know that I'm a preacher's kid. That I'm a preacher that went to seminary. And that I'm quad ordained now. Well, three ordinations and a reaffirmation of my ordination recently. And that I grew up memorizing great portions of the Bible. I went to private Christian school for most of my junior high and early high school days. And I was required to memorize. Like, I memorized the entire 11th chapter of Hebrews, word for word. And so there came out this deal where the Bible has changed. How many of you remember the Bible phrase, the lion shall lay down with the lamb? I know that I had friends that had a ministry called the Lion and Lamb Ministries. That there's an old gospel song, and the lion will lay down with the lamb. But according to the Bible today, if you dig it up and even go get one of the old Bibles, it's always been, and the wolf shall lie down with the lamb. That blows my mind. Am I such a bad Bible student that I just read that wrong? I memorized it wrong? Did the author of that old gospel song get it wrong? What about my friends in ministry that did the Lion and Lamb Ministries? Did they get it wrong? What about all the images of the lion laying down with the lamb in paintings and pictures and in picture books growing up? Apparently, it's always been, and the wolf shall lie down with the lamb. So, we kind of covered that should blow your mind. And there's some more like that, where the Bible just seems like it's completely not how any of us remember it. And some people say, well, the Bible gets changed by the Bible Institute, and maybe it does. But that one, you can go dig out your great-grandma's Bible, because I took Daddy's Bible out and looked at it, and it says wolf. And there are some people that report some of this stuff changing while they're looking at it. Some people looking at the cover of a video with the Genie movie, and it changing to the other Genie movie while they're looking at it. Other people would have said they opened up old Bibles and it said the lion shall lay down with the lamb, and they went to go get someone, and when they came back it said wolf. So let's assume for a minute that it's not just mismemory. Let's assume for a minute that all of us who think we remember things differently aren't just, stupid idiots. Let's give us all the benefit of the doubt. What would cause something like that to occur? What does that mean? So there's a lot of great theories that are going around about what the Mandela effect actually means. And so one of them is that the Mayan calendar was correct. We all died in 2012. That's the bad news. The really bad news is this is heaven. That we're all dead and this is a simulation to make us all feel better. If that's the case, then maybe I ended up in hell because this don't seem like heaven. Sometimes it can be heaven on earth and hell on earth. I've had some heavenly times, but I've had some hellish times since 2012. That's probably the most unbelievable one, if you ask me. That's some of those Matrix people that think we're all living in a Matrix, under a dome, in a flat earth, I don't know. But the other one that I find very interesting is that CERN has experimented with time travel and and their CERN facility, their underground superconductor, super collider, where they're searching for the God particle, that they have ripped a hole in time and space, and that the concept of the multiverse, multi-universes, and this needs its own video, but the idea being that in one world, I made the decision to make this video, and in another world, I decided not to make this video. And that the world where I made that decision to make the video goes off this way, and the world where I didn't goes off this way. And that there are many, many versions of me, many, many versions of you, millions of them. Versions where I decided to go to art school instead of going to be a musician. Places, universes where I made the decision not to leave the music business and I did sell my soul or whatever. And that CERN's messing around has taken a couple of these close universes where there was just tiny, minute differences and combined them. So that there are people here from a universe where Ford made the decision to go this way instead of put the curly Q on the F, where the man's name that made the books was Bernstein, not Berenstain, a place where, Sinbad actually did make a genie movie. And there's thousands of these. There's thousands of these mismemories, places where, a different universe where Mandela did die in prison. You came close to it. I do remember that for sure. So that's probably the most frightening thing, that somehow humanity trying to find the God particle, trying to become like God, has actually torn a hole, has shredded the veil between time and space and screwed up our timeline in some way, and this is evidence of it. Or maybe we just, I don't know, all smoked too much weed in college, or, the stuff they're putting in the food is actually giving us brain damage, as I like to say. I don't know. It's really interesting, I will say that. And you may get 2 coffee talks a day, although my hands are already shaking from so much coffee, because I do want to talk about the reptilian shapeshifter conspiracy as well. But Mandela effect. Tell me what you think. Do you have a Mandela effect that affected you personally? There's one lady that swears up and down that the man she's married to isn't her husband. That there's no way this man could be her husband because he likes food her other husband hated. And, they're supposed to be the same guy. It's not talking about multiple marriages here. Same guy she's married to for 20 years. She said, one day he stopped being the same person. He's a completely different person, even though it looks like him and every other thing is like him. But so this thing has really affected some people's lives. Maybe it's a big demonic game of deception. I will say that there's a lot of people running around that seem like their brain is under the control of some outside force, if you know what I mean. But what do you think about the Mandela effect? Do you have one yourself? I know I do. About half of them really shook me up. About half of them I go, ding, ding, ding. That is not how I remember that. And that Bible verse one messes with me big time. Tell me what you think. Maybe I just thought I memorized that Bible scripture. Did you memorize it wrong too? All right. See you later.